Hey, how you doing there, folks? I'm gonna make this video today. It's a very complex topic, intricate topic, but I'm gonna do my best for you because it really needs to be talked about. Now, it's been brought to the light for years now, but the more and more it gets talked about, the more and more it gets exposed, the more awareness will be about it, and the more people who are assailed by it will be able to deal with it. Now, and that's directed, non-lethal weapons, which are electronic in nature, frequency style weapons. Now, these types of weapons were developed in the military. Started making these kind of weapons back in the 20s and 30s, where they could direct energy in a microwave type pulse or a laser type pulse or some other kind of pulse energy and direct it at targets. Those targets would be human targets. And the designed outcome is to alter the behavior of the target to several ends. Mainly, the majority of the time, they would try to scatter the brain of the human target to make it go crazy, or to alter its behavior in such a way that it would act outside of what was probably safe for it, or what was probably something that would be in balance. In that way, by altering their behavior, because these military type programs would be used for what's called black operations, and that normally began with what's called social an attempt to not discourage, but give an impression of discouragement to the social fabric, demoralization. That's what it's called. That was always the first step in going in. Say it's like you're the CIA and you go into Vietnam back in 1945, which people don't even know we were in Vietnam in 45, but we were. And that's when we started actually fucking around in Vietnam, fucking with the social structure of it, dividing it into North and South, creating a situation of pitting the communists against the United States. But we completely socially engineered the entire situation, but people don't know we were in Vietnam in 1945. And Vietnam is a good, another good way to explain how the weapons were used, because a lot of the programs associated with the weapons began around that time, or actually used and implemented. And so, just can tune these weapons to the frequency of the target. So now there's there's lots of different ways to determine the frequency of the target. Okay, so you could give it all kinds of tests, and then you can analyze the tests. So like we would invade the country, go in there, begin to educate it, quote unquote educate it, but really indoctrinate it into our ideology or whatever ideology we wanted them to have. And then by the test answers, we could determine what the frequency, the specific frequency ranges of that human target is. And then you can set up entire energy grids. We always go in and do infrastructure, set up an entire energy grid. So you may say you want to controlled a certain village. There's certain types of frequencies in that village that may hurt your plan for domination of that region. And generally, that's people who are free, fluid, curious thinkers, basically democratic principles, because the way that system works is we would look for examples of democracy in regions, egalitarian style societies, and we will want to wipe those out because they were a threat to the type of domination that we were seeking to do, which is basically more of a corporate theme. It's more like fascism, more of a corporate theme. And then we'll do that in the name of liberation and freedom when we're actually destroying and enslaving culture. So Vietnam's a really good example of that. Okay, because we didn't go into Vietnam in the '60s later on to liberate the South from the North. We're the ones that set that up. We're the ones that we basically invaded South Vietnam under the pretense of liberating it from the North. So we supported a general's coup in South Vietnam. We invaded South Vietnam. So wrap your head around that. But there's lots and lots of evidence that shows that. I mean, it can pretty much be proven now by studying that we invaded South Vietnam. Okay. So now these types of weapons, now a lot of the people that were in those kinds of programs, say in South Vietnam, like for instance some of the secret programs in the special forces, one for instance would have been called the Phoenix program, and that was a program of a license to kill program, but it's but there's elements of it that were super secret and attached directly to the CIA. I mean, lots of people in the military who were in the Phoenix program were also members of the CIA. Lots of the CIA members were members of the military, so they were intertwined there. So they had a license to kill, okay? License to flat out do whatever it took to quote unquote win the war that we didn't win in South Vietnam. Okay, so it's a good reference point to point out how these weapons were used. So now after all that's over with, coming forward in time, those people who were in those secret programs, they get pretty decent jobs in the civilian world. They get, they'll be like director of security for some corporation, or they may be high up on the totem pole and for some major Fortune 500 or Fortune 100 corporation, and that's maybe going into a region like Western Africa or Central Africa and setting up taking over some region where there's a hydroelectric dam and controlling that so that all the power in the region can be controlled and even enhanced or whatever. They may want to build a new GE or Mitsubishi, hydroelectric plant or something like that. So they'll send in these specialists who are really good at, black ops, psychological warfare, standard ground warfare, infantry warfare, highly competent motherfuckers. Right? So, and then, of course, sometimes they gotta do what they gotta do. So they may have to use some of these weapons. So then, also, in America, for instance, too, let's say they get finished with that job and they come back to America. What are they gonna do? They're gonna do something. You know what I mean? So a lot of their buddies get out of the military. They're in the CIA. They're in some kind of special, NSA, some kind of special program, whatever. They know about these weapons. And so they say they start working in civilian life, and they may still be lightly attached to a military attaché or something like that. They may work for like a retired general, performing special functions around, they might even work for, loosely, they might work for a company which is a front company for MI6 or MI5 or Mossad. They may run around the world, selling shit to people, but at the same time performing assassinations and shit like that, whatever. But sometimes they got to use these weapons, and these weapons are directed energy pulse weapons, all right? And it generally go by the frequency. Now, sometimes the subjects that they're trying to use these weapons on, well, back up just a little bit. So these people may get jobs, for instance, even in private investigation. Okay, this is big right here. Private investigation. Okay, so then they have direct access to these weapons. So they're experts at determining the frequency of the target. That's the person they want to target, or the people they want to target. Now, and a lot of these motherfuckers have mental problems that are on medication and shit. So they're all fucked up in the head because they have, PTSD from, they might have killed 20 people while they were in the jungle of Burundi or something like that, and got shot at, and they had some Manchurian candidate style programming done to them. So they're all fucked up in the head. Okay. So they may, for one reason or another, believe that it's okay to use these weapons on people. But some of the motherfuckers are just downright evil. Okay. So they'll start using these weapons and shit like that. All right. Private investigation. And generally, you can trace that shit to private investigation. All right. And so they start using these weapons on people, and they'll attempt, first of all, to discredit or drive the people crazy or alter their life somehow, because these weapons really work. Like, one aspect of the weapons, for instance, is that by determining your frequency, and like today, it's a perfect way to determine people's frequencies, like Facebook. Because all you do is watch your Facebook, watch your Twitter posts. They can pretty much figure out by the answers and the comments that you make what your frequency is. And then they can direct these weapons to you directly. So they can direct them, especially in a place like Texas, probably, where there is a Texas electronic grid. It's a lot easier to tap into the grid because there's only one grid. There's 3 grids in the U.S. That's the Eastern grid, Texas grid, and the Western grid. So they can easily tap into Texas grid. They know what they're doing. It wouldn't be that complex. Especially, Texas is surveillance central. You know what I mean? These motherfuckers are all about the military and our rights, and don't let Barack Obama get us. We got to protect ourselves. The niggers are coming. So these weapons sometimes they don't actually work properly, because a lot of the weapons, believe it or not, are what's called scalar, and they operate on intent of the user. These are the type of weapons that go all the way back to the ancient world, before the flood of Noah, into Atlantis. These are some of the type of weapons that caused the sinking of Atlantis on a much larger scale, but that's what caused it. Okay. Personality weapons, laser and maser type weapons, and people don't understand that a lot of these weapons react to the intent of the user. So these weapons can backfire, is what I'm saying. So a lot of times people are trying to use them on you, and it doesn't seem to be working, and so they'll tune the weapons too high, and then all of a sudden they'll create some type of anomaly in the electronic grid. Like how they used to catch people that sell crack. They would just look at, oh well, their electronic bill is 3 times as high as last month. They got to be doing something in there. Well, these electronic weapons can cause anomalies in the grid. See, and so what it can do is it can backfire, and it can actually reverse itself on them and start fucking with their heads. and it does oftentimes. And it can also make it so that people who are using the weapons, who are more adept at using them and more powerful at using them, become aware that this dipshit's trying to use them, and then they start assaulting that person. It's all fucked up. You see, the shit don't always work right. You see what I'm saying? And then you have a lot of people. There's just lots and lots to it. Like, you have a lot of people that turn gay. Okay, so how the fuck do you turn gay? Is it sexual orientation a frequency? See what I'm saying? And I've had motherfuckers try to use these weapons on me, and it'll annoy the holy fuck out of them that they don't work on them. And it's not actually that they don't work, it's just that I'm aware of them. And there's ways to offset their effect on it. They can tune the motherfucker all the way up, and it just doesn't work on them, because I'm aware of it, and I know how to offset the weapon. But they can actually, these weapons are so intricate, they can hone in on you. They can gather your own thoughts, and then they can relate those thoughts back into your head that you're thinking. That'll freak you out. You'll start trying to control it, and then they can analyze your frequency that way, and then just scatter your brain. See what I'm saying? So, I'm sure, but you want to piss them off? Stay like Bruce Lee or something like that, or, like he looks like be fluid like the nature of water, You'll just annoy the holy fuck out of them, because they're sure this shit's supposed to work. And it does probably work on most people. But if you stay connected and fluid and develop your mind, in other words, keep your mind occupied and moving towards something positive at all times, they don't have any effect on it. And you just annoy the holy fuck out of the ones that are trying to do shit to you. They'll even try to gang stalk you to make the weapons work better. But what you have to do is you have to keep a sober, clean mind. And sometimes, it's any day. Some people have bad days. You know what I mean? Just thinking or whatever, And they'll try to assess your mood and make the electronic pulse weapons even worse on you that day. Just work through it mentally. Hold out. Don't give in to it. Because they can't keep pointing them at you. They can't constantly keep the weapon on you. Because if they do, they'll get found out. Plus the weapon will backfire and start working on them. So, people think they're so clever. And they aren't as clever as they think. You know why? Because you can't out-clever life. So, keep a smile on your face and a love in your heart. And keep your thought, word, and deed consistent. Moving towards what's positive. And do the work. Don't give in that bullshit. And you can overcome the assault of this type of thing on you. Because it happens to a lot of people. And then you can't run around talking about it because it makes you look crazy and shit. See what I'm saying? So, hopefully this video helps people. I'm sure there's some people that'll find that it'll help them to know that they're not crazy, that you really are being assaulted by electronic weapons. So, alrighty.